This is a good sign. I could use a good sign. We could all use a good sign. Well, here is one. Lou's East End Street Market. It begins this Sunday, 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Everything that you could ever imagine, folks, outside along the historic Mulberry Street. Super vendors, great food, and you just never know who you're going to run into. And next Wednesday, Jimmy Sinceri of the wonderful Jimmy and Nino's in the Strip going to stop by and have a little pasta with us here. We're going to talk some Italian memories and also his experience as far as being one of the best when it comes to anything that is Italian in the historic Strip District. So we're looking forward to that. But you really need to come from wherever. If you're watching this, please stop by. I think you'll find it to be truly one of the friendliest towns in America. Mayberry doesn't have much on East Liverpool. Okay, Ted Arnaud back with us on the Comcast Sport Line here at Casa de Emmanuel. Time to talk a little NFL. We begin with some of the things that were trending at Steelers.com earlier today. Still waiting for Le'Veon Bell to get the deal done one way or another, that franchise tag, hopefully, and back to the business of worrying about football and reps because camp is just a few weeks away. But everyone, including Coach Tomlin, talking about T.J. Watt. Well, as he said, above the neck of the game, nothing too big for this guy. So one thing I think playing almost in a similar type of defense at Wisconsin has helped him. And even Joey Porter, linebackers coach, saying that he picks everything up and he is just very quick to the football. And he's got maybe a little bit of a different terminology coming from Wisconsin to the pros, Ted. But he seems to be a perfect fit. And he's taking more of the reps while James Harrison is kind of, relaxing a little bit. And because of his age, he doesn't need to get as many reps. But the rookie does. And so far, he's looked pretty good in the OTAs.
Yeah, he has, and James Harrison doesn't need, like you said, very many reps. I think he knows his defense inside out and upside down. But nothing but good things about T.J. Watt, and obviously he's got the DNA to do it, and he's got the work ethic to do it. Let's just hope that the injuries that he had in Wisconsin don't show up, because that's always a fear. But he's going to be a good player if he can stay healthy.
Hey, listen, he was a part of Slammiversary, meaning D'Angelo Williams. It was one time in the tights as far as wrestling. He said that's enough. He did it because of a request that he promised that he made to his late uncle. But he said he's ready to play football again. I like this kid. He was a gamer, and he's still a kid as far as, chronologically, but as far as football years, he has played a lot of downs. You think there is football life still left for D'Angelo Williams, the ex-Steeler?
Well, he got injured last year, and he's had a lot of carries in with Carolina and Steelers. I just don't know. I mean, obviously, if the Steelers thought that he did, they'd have kept him and made him in a tandem with John Connor and Le'Veon Bell. But I don't. Obviously, they know a lot more than we do about what he's got left in the tank. So my money's on the Steelers and what they feel about it.
All right, Darrelle Revis, the kid from Aliquippa, University of Pittsburgh. He's made a lot of money, but he still wants to play football. The question is, one time one of the best shutdown corners anywhere in the history of the game. We all heard about Revis's Island. Does he play football at a high level or at any level moving forward?
He'll probably wind up with a team, but at that position, if you lose a step or two, it's everything. Once you allow a receiver to get that some kind of separation, because that either you got a hitch in your giddy up or you're just a little bit slower, it's death in the NFL. So he's had a lot of great seasons, great football player. I think certainly the Steelers are not interested in looking at that kind of a program.
All right, 10-6 last year. Adam Case kind of took them the rest of the way when he got hurt, Ryan Tannehill. But Miami, who I've been a big fan of forever because of Don Shula and, Jim Kick, Larry Zonka. Mr. Zonka actually had a beer distributorship for many years here in nearby Lisbon, Ohio. They got some new players, though. This tight end, Julius Thomas, along with Anthony Fasano, and running backs Jay Ajayi, who I've often said is one of the top bruising backs in the NFL, who has breakaway speed, and you've got Kenya Drake. What about the return of Miami? Could they really actually be a threat against Brady and New England, or is this New England once again going to lap everybody in that division?
Well, they certainly have a shot because they were in there last year. They certainly have improved. Tannehill, a lot of people are kind of mixed bag with him. Some think that he's got a lot more room to grow. Others think that last year he had reached his potential. But whether they can compete with New England or not is going to rely on him. Yes, they've built a good crew around him, and that's going to help, but it's still going to go back to that quarterback.
Ted, I see so many things really happening positively. The Chester fireworks last night, from what I understand, your old stomping grounds, Newell, New Cumberland, and Chester, were absolutely fantastic. People on this side of the river in Ohio, East Liverpool, loving it. And I was talking to, Mike Solderbeck about his parish, St. Aloysius, and, what they've been able to do there as far as Father Peter and remodeling it. I mean, things are really looking up in this region. And I'm talking about this Shell petrochemical plant being the major catalyst. Tomorrow, I have got, when I'm in for Mike Pintek, right after the noon news, Dick Shaw, for many years the chairman, Michael Baker, of course, Incorporated International now. But when he was there, he talked about the similarities when the Michael Baker firm was in Saudi Arabia, where he spent a lot of time laying these oil lines, these gas lines, and how he sees that happening with this natural gas industry, and the footprint is kind of identical. And we all know where Saudi Arabia went after that in the early 60s and through the 70s, and still dominating in the business of crude oil. Do you agree with that? And is this really going to be that kind of, as they said many times before, and I'm sure will continue to say, a game changer, this natural gas industry and this petrochemical plant that Shell has really invested a whole lot of time and money into?
Well, I think what you're going to see is Shell taking off, and I had the unique fortune, I guess it was, to be in Dhahran, Saudi Arabia in the late 60s, early 70s, and it's back when Aramco was a joint venture between Saudi Arabia and a U.S. company. But obviously it grew. The price of oil, the first shock wave was in 73, 74, and the energy industry has proceeded. But the beauty of it is, and a lot of people don't understand this, is a little bit over a year ago, Congress passed a law that would allow the U.S. to export liquid natural gas. They have not been able to do that, and the reason why I brought up the first oil and gas shock in the early 70s, they really were precluded from exporting liquid natural gas shortly after that, because it was felt that it was a really important resource, and we wanted to control what we had. But now, because of the wealth of the Marcellus and the Utica shales and some of the other shales in the country, liquid natural gas is starting to become a major potential for export. So yes, I do think that we're going to see some semblance of what happened in the Middle East, although it's hard to say because liquid natural gas is not quite as fungible as oil. But as they start refining it through cracker plants and other processing facilities, it could become that. And it's a cleaner burning fuel. It's got a lot of potential for let's call it clean energy, although if you talk to a lot of people with solar and wind energy, they keep touting how that's the only one, but they're not cost effective. Mm-hmm. So the cost effective fuel right now is going to be natural gas and liquid natural gas with plenty of room to grow. And this will be the area that I think certainly sees its share of it. It's not going to get all of it, but it's going to see its share of it.
Please don't miss Mr. Dick Shaw tomorrow with me right after the noon news on the Disc Institute of Pittsburgh Newsline. And then as we move on tomorrow afternoon in the 1 o'clock hour, Norm Mitchery, CEO of Heritage Valley Health System, they actually have an office here in Calcutta. We're going to be talking about Healthcare 2017 and how they survived this cyber attack and took care of it rather quickly. Pretty amazing stuff and a great success story. We'll talk to him about that as well. And Ted's going to be with me on the radio in a few weeks talking about the president. Can he actually make America great again, when I fill in for Mike Pintek as well. And then tomorrow night, as if we don't have enough to do, we'll be at the Wooden Angel talking all about the G20 just hours before everything begins in Hamburg, Germany with Dave Pasquale. Have a great rest of your night. Ted Arnaud, always a pleasure. Enjoy your evening.
Bobby, we'll see you. Thank you.
Good night from Casa de Emmanuel.